Oh, they're well-oiled. They're well-oiled tonight. Well done, Capacity Crowd. Thank you very much, little rendition of Blue Army. Welcome to this week's edition of Life's Pitch TV. I'm Mark Murphy. It's great to have your company, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on podcast. Let me run you through the people that help us put the show on air. Our main sponsor is DPS Tech. Also, big thanks to All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound 4 Pro Audio, Venue 16, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford, the Dove in Ipswich, and not forgetting Ashford Wright as well. And the sofa is sponsored by DPS Tech, so thank you very much to them. Let me introduce you to the team. He's back from his holidays. Terry Butcher. Russell Osman. From twtd.co.uk, it's Phil Ham. And on technicals over there, we've got Richard and John. And we have our wonderful Capacity Crowd. And before we start, can I bring you some good news? That tickets are already on sale and selling really well for our end of season dinner. So don't miss out. It's on Monday, the 13th of May, and it's at Venue 16 in the Big Willow Suite. We've sold over 100 tickets already, boys. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, £25 a head. That includes a hot buffet. And we've got our end of season awards, and it's just going to be a great laugh, great fun.
Buffet.
Buffet.
Buffet. Is it
buffet,
French buffet?
A buffet,
Oh,
yes.
buffet.
Yes. So there'll be plenty of food to eat. It'll be a hot buffet. And there'll be lots and lots of guests that have been on the show during the course of the year as well, joining us that night too. And one special guest we're hoping, but we'll announce that very soon once we've 100% confirmed that they're happy to do it. And we're about 50% certain at the moment, aren't we? Maybe not even that.
Maybe. We'll see.
We're going to work on him. We're going to open up the bar and he'll definitely come.
Yeah.
But we have some other good news. Now, since the show started last July, wasn't it? We had the first show. We have had, wait for it, over 200,000 views of Life's a Pitch TV. I think, come on, Capacity Crowd. Come on.
Wow.
Over 200,000 views.
Brilliant.
That's
Very
incredible,
good.
isn't it?
Yep, very good.
So that means that people have, that could be the same people.
Well, yeah, all right, don't spoil it.
No, I'm just,
Could be one bloke who's watched it
just gone for a bit of
200,000
balance.
times.
It's gone for a bit of balance, but it could be, but it's just great
Yeah.
that how people come back.
It's, you know those little Chinese cats, don't you, when the hand goes like this, up and down like this? There's one of those on my computer at home, just clicking on it each week, so like that. It's just like a metronome type thing.
Well, that's really sad, to be honest, I must say. Yeah.
Just to keep the numbers up. 200,000 though.
Yeah, wow.
And that doesn't
One
count.
person could be viewing and six mates are there with him as well.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Because
And
everybody's watching it, because we know the stats. Most people are now watching on a smart TV at home with the fam. So we know the
With
stats
the
of
what?
family.
Oh, family.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you say family?
Because I was just shortening it, because we'll run out of time otherwise.
I thought that was,
I was trying to be trendy.
The
trying to be,
Yeah, trendy,
trying to be
yes,
Yeah.
street.
Clearly
Yeah.
didn't work, did it?
no, not
Yeah.
so.
And that doesn't
Anyway, they
count,
might be watching it with the family.
and that doesn't count the audio podcast
No, it doesn't, no.
platforms as well.
No.
So do
there's
the
more on
fans
top of that.
listen to us or watch us when they go to the games and
Yeah.
things like that and travel
Yeah.
and all that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Give them all a wave. Look.
And we've not had any car crashes at all or anything like
Not
that.
as far as we're aware.
Yeah, so far we've not been blamed for any anyway.
Anyway, we need a special
few
guest. And I'll tell you what, when we talk about legend, it's an overused word, but we're talking about the greatest of all time. He's a GOAT as far as Ipswich Town is concerned. It's only the legend that is Ray Crawford, everybody! Hello, Ray. That's quite a welcome for you. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mark. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, an absolute pleasure. We couldn't do this show without getting you on at least once a season for the next few years to come. So great that you're here, really is. And everybody's so appreciative of you joining us this week. And the reaction on social media to your appearance has been amazing. You are so loved around these parts. You really are.
Thank you.
And you're smiling at the moment because your lovely Portsmouth have done okay then.
Yeah, they're up. They're up already. So I've only been up there a couple of times. They've played really well, and I'm really pleased for it, everybody up there.
And now what you need is us to do the same, and then you'll be really happy.
Yes, definitely. Oh, that's the big one for me.
It's so tight though, isn't it?
Very, very tight. I hope it doesn't go to a playoff. I want them to win promotion. I'd like them to win the league, but I think that's a hard one because Leicester are doing ever so well.
Well, we have had 3 in a row before this season, so there's no reason why we can't do it. Does it bring back memories of your time winning promotion with Town?
Oh, fantastic! It was a great time. We weren't expecting to win the league. We thought we might get second or third, but on the day the other teams fell away, and we did the business.
And we're forever grateful giving us one of the stars on our football shirts, along with the boys here, giving us another one in the UEFA Cup. It's great to have him on, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Ray, sorry, Russell. Ray, are you wearing a shirt and tie? Because I'm sure you wear a shirt and tie when you have a shower as well.
I'll never wear a shirt. I only wear a tie when I come to the town.
All right.
Ray, can you tell me, is Connor Chaplin one of your grandchildren? Because he's from Portsmouth as well, isn't he?
He's a good player. I like him.
Yeah, he's a Portsmouth
tremendous.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started down there.
Yeah, I can't understand why they let him go, but a lot of teams make mistakes, and Pompey did one with them. So
Definitely, yeah.
and he's done ever so well for the town, hasn't he?
Brilliant.
Certainly has. Well, we've got lots to talk about with you, Ray. We're going to take a look right now at the season so far. This is sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich. And actually, we haven't got any games of our own to talk about, but I think we need to talk about the teams, Phil, around us, and they're not really doing us many favours at the moment, are they?
No, we've been let down by a few people, haven't we? I think we're all kind of hopeful that that Middlesbrough, having performed so well against us when they played Leeds on Monday, that they might cause Leeds a few problems. And actually, they did cause them a few problems. They went ahead, but unfortunately ended up losing 4-3. So that's obviously put a bit of a spring in Leeds' step. And then Southampton, Russ's old club, were woeful. There's no other way to say it, is there, really?
What, against Leicester, other old club?
Against your other old club, yes. I think that I read a stat before that game that they'd won only 2 games of the 9 that Flynn Downs had missed, and he missed that game, and so 2 out of 10 now. So it's extraordinary. Yeah, they're
disappointing, weren't they?
They were very, very disappointing, and having lost to Cardiff as well on the Saturday, which I think they gave themselves a bit of a chance. They beat Preston 3-0, didn't they? And I think they felt that they'd give themselves a little bit of a shout, but then they lost to Cardiff on the Saturday, and that gave them no chance at all, really. So.
Ray, are you pleased that Southampton lost the other day? Because Portsmouth and Southampton, that's a big rivalry, isn't it?
No, I want them to do well. I would like them to come up, and it's great to go and see those games. You go and watch that game, and the Southampton supporters come over here, and we just stuff them.
Not always. That's charming, isn't it?
What's
that rivalry like, Ray? Is it like Ipswich Norwich, the Southampton Portsmouth?
It will always be there.
No
matter. It's always. We have to have the police out to separate the supporters. I know, but the rivalry is fantastic.
And when you look at the top of the Championship at the moment, you touched on it earlier on, Town have got to, they're still in our hands, 3 wins and we're up.
That's it.
But do you think is it a difficult task ahead for us, do you think? Or are you quietly confident that we can nail these games?
It's up to the players, isn't it? They've got to turn it on. They've got to make sure that the other team don't score. And that's it. And it's a hard time, and it's pressure on the players, which I've never had. So I've been very fortunate in my time. I've never had any real pressure put on me. But there are nowadays. It's so different, isn't it, for the supporters? They idolise the players, and when the players don't do it, they get a bit upset. So let's hope that the Town can do it, and don't worry about anybody else. Just play your game, win your games. And if you do, we're up.
Yeah, Ray, pressure is for car tyres. It's the only time you need to worry about pressure.
I think that should be made into a little sign that, like, keep calm and carry on.
Or if
pressure is in car
or
tyres.
if you're a deep sea diver, that's pretty critical.
Oh,
as
it
well.
is. You're right. Yeah.
But I think that's exactly what Kieran had said though about focusing on your own game, not looking. I mean, he sort of today he was asked again, did you watch any of the games in midweek? Leeds, Leicester. No, have any interest. Just looking at us, and I think that's kind of whether it's true or not, of course. But I think he wants to foster that attitude amongst his players, really, just to concentrate on that. And to be fair, when you speak to the players, they're the same. I think that they're very confident. I think this is the thing, isn't it? I think that we're so attuned to winning now over the last 2 years, and I'm sure you found this in your teams and Ray as well. That the more you win, the more it becomes a habit, and the more you get used to it. And there, as you say, there's not the pressure then, is there? Because you expect to win, don't you?
Yeah, you're expected to win, but also you've got to go out and perform. You haven't got to go out and think you've won the game before you have. You've got to get out there and do what you've been doing previous, and win the games. Nobody in the pro game gives it to you. You've got to get out there and you've got to do the business.
Indeed, and so of course Saturday is Hull City away.
8 o'clock Saturday night.
I know.
One of our capacity crowd, John, was earlier on saying we don't think we've ever played 8 o'clock on a Saturday night before. Have we played on a Saturday night? I don't think we have we? No.
We've played some later games on Saturdays, haven't we? I think we cup ties. I think we played Man City about
Man
that
City
time,
was
maybe.
a Sunday night.
Was that a Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one or two maybe, but yeah, it's unusual and not.
I mean,
welcome.
tough on the travelling fans.
But yes, and the travelling journalists.
Well, I'm not so worried about that, Phil.
But
fan first or journalist first, Phil?
Oh, depends on the match sometimes. Depends on how we're
on the
doing.
money.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. 8 o'clock does kind of change the game slightly because Hull need to win to stay in contention with for the final playoff place. But they also need Norwich to lose earlier in the afternoon. Well, if Norwich beat Swansea in the 3 o'clock kickoff, then Hull go into that game without anything, that's it. Their season's over. So that would change the dynamic of it quite a lot, I think. And obviously they're spending their Thursday and Friday training for this sort of scenario that they could still make the playoffs. But then 4:45, it's all over, and they're sort of thinking, our season's that could have quite a big impact on them, couldn't it?
What do you think, Ray? 8 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Yes, that's normally up in the pub by that time. The game would have been over and we'd be out the pub celebrating. It's a funny time, but that's what goes with football nowadays. You just got to get on with it, and you got to play. You got to give your best, and get out there and win the games.
Of course, when you get to the Premier League, which we will next year, it's going to be
so.
it's going to be probably the norm as well. So
Yeah.
it's a chance of getting used to it. And then, of course, we've got VAR, but that's another issue. We won't go into that.
Yeah, we'll do a
That's another
special on that.
podcast.
We won't do that. Yeah.
And actually, the EFL, I think the EFL deal that starts next season involves games being all over the place as well. So, it's not going to be many 3 o'clock Saturday kickoffs.
We haven't had many this season, have
No,
we?
we haven't,
actually?
certainly
Not
lately,
Hardly
yeah.
any at all, really. I mean, it's so tight. It's so very tight. Your thoughts, Butch, on whether we're going to do it? I still think we can.
I think we will.
Yep.
I think we will because they are very professional. The results haven't been great lately. No winning 3, but they've got it all to play for. You can see the finishing line now. You can see the post. You can see the tape across the finishing line. Like we had the marathon last week on the Sunday. Wow, we're going to hit that tape. Okay, we might not get first place on the podium, but second will do nicely, like it did last year. So it's not about just trying to think about other teams, as Ray says. It's concentration, and I'm sure Ray was the same in his day. You just worried about yourselves, and that's all you can do.
Russ?
That's right. Yeah, you got to go out and give your best, haven't you? You're out there playing for your supporters. They're paying your wages. They want you to win. So the players. I think the players will give everything they've got.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting having this 2-week break just leading into these final 3 games. Yes, it's given us a bit of a breather for the injured players who could be coming back and fit and healthy, hopefully. But has the pressure sort of built up a little bit in that time when we're not playing and the other teams are playing, and Leicester done well and Leeds have done well, and all the time we can't do anything about it.
It's putting more pressure on us, isn't it?
It is if you're thinking about it, or you're just saying, well, that's it. We've just got a break. We make the most of the fortnight break and make sure we come back in the best possible condition that we can, and whatever results have gone beforehand, forget that. Just get on with the job of getting that second spot.
And Phil, we're going to see a couple of our injured players travelling to Hull.
We are, yes. George Hurst and Wes Burns, both. Kieran at the press conference today said that all being well, they've trained all week. All being well, tomorrow's training, that they will be making the trip, which is a big positive because they've both been missed. George Hurst, I actually asked Kieran. I said, well, are we to expect, not to expect too much from him early on because he's been out since Boxing Day, but he was quite bullish. He says, well, so I think they've kind of had him out on the training ground for a few weeks, and he may be nearer to kind of the top of his game than perhaps we'd anticipate. Wes Burns has been out for a month, so he lost some of his fitness, but I think perhaps maybe not perhaps won't start the first couple of games, but maybe next Saturday he might start, and he'll make a contribution from the bench. But I think we've said before, really, we've not just missed the fact that Wes Burns has been starting, but because Wes Burns hasn't been starting, Amari Hutchinson has had to start, and we've missed Amari Hutchinson as a sub and the impact that he's made. So, I think it's a big thing, really, and because Hurst was such a important player in the team in the first half of the season, and as you alluded to, the games before the break we were a bit under par, and I think that was tiredness as much as anything, wasn't it? We'd had quite a lot of games in quite a short, not quite as many as you had in your day, obviously, but I think they were starting to feel a bit Kiefer in particular. I think had started every game, and he had 120 minutes for Wales as well in that time, and picked up a bit of a knock. So, and he'd had a bit of illness in the camp. So I think that's all kind of. It was a bit of a chance to recuperate and put us in a much better position. And you look at the teams that we're playing. Hull have played a lot of games during this period, and by the time we play them, as we say, might not have anything left to play for. Coventry have had an enormous amount of games in that time. And a great deal of emotion as well, as we saw in that cup match. 120 minutes and a penalty shootout, and really, robbed. I think, as most people agree. And of course, by the time we play them, they won't have anything left in their season. So, I think it's a good opportunity to play Hull and Coventry. I think chances are we'll probably beat them. And then Huddersfield, final day, could be relegated.
And you can't get a ticket for love nor money for that
you can't,
game, can you?
No.
So,
do you need an assistant?
No, I don't need any assistance. No, thanks.
Everything's got a price.
Well, yes, we're looking forward to that. Should be good fun. Anyway, let's capitalise on the fact that we've got our absolute legendary goal scorer, Ray Crawford, with us. And Ray, let's talk about your hugely successful career. And is it right, when you were a young boy, you had a school teacher trying to persuade you not to go into football?
Yes, it was. Well, we just didn't have all this going around when we were young, being a professional and being a young player. I just wanted to play football all the time, and I was very lucky, really, that I had people that were interested in what I did at school. They helped me so much. I was never very bright at school until the football came out. When the ball came out, then it was okay. And I was so happy to do well for them, because they helped me through life. And when I became a professional, that was what I wanted. I'd been in Malaya for 18 months and come out of the army, and very fortunate to sign on for Pompey. I think it was £5 a week or something like that, something stupid. And I just enjoyed being with the senior players, because I was with players that had won the Premiership, or the First Division it was called then. And I used to be in awe of them. There was Jack Frogger, Peter Harris, Dougie Reid, Jimmy Dickinson, star players that I'd watched all through my growing up years, and training with them, it really brought the best of out of me, and I was so lucky to be able to be with those players. And when they actually sold me to Ipswich, I wasn't very happy about that because it came out of the blue. But I suppose I should have kept my mouth shut because I had a bit of a row with the chairman. I won't go into that one now, but I will some other time. And
Well, feel free, Ray.
Feel
Don't worry.
free. Go on, Ray. Give it
Go
to
on,
him.
tell us what happened.
Well, I'll tell you about it.
Yep.
I was in the first team. We're playing at Burnley, and the first person in the dressing room was Jack Sparshat, our chairman. And I was the first player to come through the door, and he started having a go at me. And I said a few rude words to him. And the following week, I was in the A team. So I had to fight my way back in the first team. But yeah, it was a bit different in those days than it is now. I mean, I think the players are well looked after. They get a good wage, and I'm really pleased for them.
You came to Ipswich, and of course, as I said earlier on, that we absolutely love you now. You've got a big place in our hearts here in Ipswich. But when you arrived, it wasn't the case. You weren't particularly popular because of poor old Tom Garney's replacing him.
Well, Alf, I was a left winger with Portsmouth. I always played on the left wing, and it's only when I came to the town that I started to play at up the middle. And I used to roam off to the wing, and Alf had a go at me and told me what to do and what not to do, and helped me so much. And the crowd used to be calling, "Give it to Garneys." Well, Big Tom was a great friend of mine. I got to know him quite well because he had the pub in town, and I used to visit him quite often, especially Saturday nights. And he was such a nice guy, but the supporters used to have a go at me. So the best thing I could do was score goals to shut them up, and I was very fortunate.
You certainly did score a few goals, that's for sure.
Ray, did you obviously your manager was Alf Ramsey, but and what was he like? What was he like as a manager? Was he direct, or I know he's very posh, but what did he ever swear or something like that?
No bad language with Alf. He talked football. When we travelled away, he'd come and sit amongst the players, and if we weren't talking football, he'd go back and sit in his seat. But if we were talking football, he'd be with us. He was a football man. He made me what I became, and I will always be grateful to Alf. And I was very fortunate to be able to unveil his statue in town, which Lady Ramsey wanted me to do, and they wanted someone from the FA to come along, but she wouldn't have it. She said, "No, there's only one person could unveil that statue, and that would be Ray Crawford." And I was highly emotionally about that. It was a great thought that she would think that I could do it, and I did. And I fell off the platform, didn't I? In the training room. I had a big gash in my leg.
You hadn't been to the pub first again, had you?
Me.
Had you been to the pub?
Sorry.
Had you been to the pub, Ray?
No. I hadn't had a drink. Travelled up that morning. As I say, fell off the stand, and all the lads come in and said, "Oh, typical Crawford, wants all the limelight."
What a fantastic thing to be able to do, though, unveil that statue. And how soon was it that you were sort of partnered up with Ted? I mean, I've got a picture here. I don't know if you can see it or not, Ray, but I've got a picture here taken at one of the players' reunion dinners a few years ago. And it's a picture of me, there's you, and there's Ted, and you've both signed that for me, and it takes pride of place behind the sofa here every week. How early on was it that you two were partnered up?
When I first arrived at the town, Ted was injured. He was getting a lot of silly injuries. And apparently, I didn't know, but we were talking about one another. And we were both in Malaya doing our national service together and didn't meet up. And wasn't until Ted was telling me where he was and I was at the same place, and we didn't meet up. But Ted was Ted. We had a team talk, but Ted wasn't involved in it because Alf knew what Ted was going to do. 35 yards from goal, shoot, Ray, follow in. Keeper won't hold it, a little tap in for you. And I've got so many goals from Ted. And he was for me, he stayed with me a few times and when we had a few beers. That's another story. Yeah, Ted was a great guy.
So Ray, Ted was with you in Malaya, is that right?
Yeah.
Right, you were called. Yeah, well, you were called. I think you were called Jungle Boy. Was that right?
I know.
And what was Ted called?
I don't know because I came back from Malaya. We had a few injuries at Pompey, and I was sort of forced into the first team because there was nobody else. And a reporter phoned me up. He didn't phone me up because we didn't have a phone. So I had to go to the call box, phone up a number in London and tell him what I'd been doing in Malaya. And on the Saturday paper, it was that Jungle Boy makes his debut for Pompey. And that's how it came. It came from a reporter that I do not even know who it was.
Amazing.
Well, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But Ted was Ted. I mean,
I read that there was a Jungle Boy chant. Was there a song featuring Jungle Boy?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, there should have been. Anyway,
we'll make one up for you, Ray. Just on Ted for a moment or two, because obviously we've lost him now, and we can't obviously talk to him anymore. But just a moment or two on him, if we can, while we've got you here. Just how hard was his shot? And we're talking about a day when the balls were so heavy, weren't they? If they were waterlogged, didn't seem to slow him down, did it?
No. Ted. Well, as I say, we had these team talks, but Ted was never really involved in it. He would be sitting there, and Alpha would be telling me what to do, and Jimmy Ledbetter and Roy Stevenson and Andy Nelson telling all these people what to do, and we had these team talks on a Friday, and Ted will be sitting there saying, "Come on, Alf, I've got something on this afternoon. I want to get back to Colchester." And that's what Ted used to say when we was having a team talk. And he used to get in at 9:30, didn't he, and go in Alf's office, a cup of coffee with him. And I'm sure Alf didn't really want him in there every day, but Ted was Ted, and for me, he was probably one of the best players I've ever played with. So I knew he would shoot. I knew the goalkeeper would drop it or wouldn't hold it, and I'd get so many goals from it. And
what a fabulous partnership!
He became a pal of mine. He stopped at my place quite a few times.
Wasn't there stories about Ted hiding footballs after training?
Without a doubt. If we didn't do everything that Alf wanted us to on a Saturday, it was, "Jimmy, hide the footballs. Do not give these boys a football. We're going to run. And then Ted would turn up with a couple of footballs. Where he got them from, we do not know. Alf didn't know where they came from. So I think he might have brought them in from himself, from Colchester, I don't know. But Ted always found to kick about. Him and a young lad called David Deacon was at the club at that time, and that was his best mate. And him and the Deek always come up with a couple of footballs.
And isn't there a story about Tony Garnett, who was the East Anglian journalist at the time, and he was taking pot shots at him, wasn't he?
Yeah, we'd had Alf had us all back one afternoon. We didn't train many times in the afternoon, but Alf had us back, and Tony Garnett was down at the Grange at the time, and Ted had a couple of footballs, and he put Tony in goal, and he was going to take a penalty, and with that, Alf turned up, and he honestly shouted out, "Ted, do not kick that ball. You will kill him if it hits him." And that was Tony Garnett for you. I think Tony's still about. I'm not sure.
He is.
Yeah.
So Ray, in just take us back in the build-up to the championship win. What was like virtually at the stage we're at now with Town? How was the training? What was the anticipation? Were you nervous, or did you just get on with the job?
No, I don't think we thought we were going to win the league anyway, because Burnley had 2 games to play. They were above us, and if they won both their games, they would have won the league anyway. But as it was, they drew 1 and lost 1. So, we didn't think we'd win the league, and nor did Alf, because on the Sunday, having won the league on Saturday, we went to Germany and Holland playing, matches. So I'm sure Alf didn't think we were going to win the league. Otherwise, he wouldn't have arranged that tour that soon after the games being played.
But I mean, I was going to say, you never you were promoted. Obviously, you won the 2nd division. Obviously, what's the championship now? And no one thought anything of Ipswich in that summer, did they? No one thought Ipswich were going to have a hope of competing. And at what point did you start to believe that something could happen, or that you were going to compete at the top?
We never did. We just played games. We just played. We drew the first game in the 1st division. Then we got beat at Man City, and then we got beat at home by Man City in midweek, and then we went to Burnley and we got beat. And then all of a sudden we hammered Burnley in the return game midweek, and we didn't look back. For some reason or other, everybody, perhaps they couldn't handle us, because Alf had the 2 wingers, didn't he? Steve-O and Jimmy Ledbetter. I mean, they just supplied the ball. They went deep in our defence, and their fullbacks didn't come with them. They didn't realise it, though. It wasn't until actually Tottenham sussed us out a little bit that it happened. It's just that Alf played the system, deep wingers, and nobody sort of pushed them. Like nowadays, you go back deep, fullback be with you. Yeah. Not now. It was so good to be able to play in those days, and there was always lots of space for Ted and myself to run into. And,
Ray, with Sir Alf, Alan Ball told me a story that in the 1966 World Cup run into the final, Sir Alf called Nobby Stiles and Alan Ball into the office one day and said, "Nobby, Alan, have you got a dog?" Alan said, "Yes, Sir Alf, I've got a dog." Nobby said, "Yes, Sir Alf, I've got a dog too." He said, "Alan, Nobby, what happens when you throw a ball for the dog?" I said, "Well, the dog goes and gets the ball and brings it back to me, Sir Alf." "Same with you, Alan?" "Yes." Dog brings the ball back, gives me the ball back. He said, "Right, when we play football, you're my dogs in midfield. My dogs of war, actually." He said, "Now, wherever that ball goes on the pitch, you two run off and go and get the ball. And when you get it, bring it back to Mr. Charlton, Bobby Charlton, and you give him the ball." And Bobby said, "Oh, that's great. That's all our job was. We used to scamper all over, get the ball, bring it back to Bobby Charlton, and Bobby used to hit it about 60 yards the other way, and off we'd go again." And he said, that is all Sir Alf asked us to do. And that was going into the World Cup final.
So who are the dogs in your team then, Ray?
That is hard to believe with Alf saying and that, and only picking 2 players out. And I played it in Alan Ball's first game. Alan Ball's first game was for Blackpool. I think his dad was a coach there. And my second game for Wolves was at Blackpool. We won 2-0. I scored, obviously. And that's why I'm picking it out.
You're starting to sound like Johnny Walk now, Ray.
And this little fella's running around, kicking everybody, getting stuck into everything. It works out. It's Alan Ball. It wasn't until a few years later that we realised who it was. But he was ferocious, Ball. He used to go around kicking everyone. I mean, poor Ron Flowers, 6'2", got kicked all over the park by little Alan Ball, 4'6".
Great player, mine, wasn't
Let's go back to winning that first division. How did you all celebrate?
Well, we went down to Felixstowe for the night, and we had to rush around and get babysitters to look after our children. And we went down to Felixstowe, and obviously I got drunk because it was a big occasion. And Mr. Cobbold, John, great man, he bought all the beer. Alf was Alf. He never relaxed much. He was always, for me, he was always Sir Alf. He was always, even before he was a Sir, he had that way about him. He had that, I don't know what it is, but he just had that way about him. He just knew how to get the best out of him. And what England did to him was a disgrace in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. No wonder Lady Ramsay didn't want anybody from the FA to come down and unveil the statue. What did you get up? I'm just intrigued what you got up to in Felixstowe. I mean, I love it. I live there, so I'm not going to knock it. But what was the night? What did you do? Was it a hotel or game of bingo?
We just went to the pub. I used to go to Felixstowe every Sunday, go swimming. It was brilliant. If you had any kicks and knocks, and be in the water, and whether it's winter or summer. A friend of ours had a hut down at Felixstowe, and brilliant time. Love Felixstowe.
So earlier obviously you'd scored the goals, hadn't you? We haven't mentioned the goals that you scored to win us the title. What are your memories of those?
Oh, brilliant! Absolutely brilliant. I mean, one was a free kick, right hand side. Roy Stevenson tried to knock it in, which he did. John Ellsworthy heads it. It hits the bar, and who's on the end of it once it's hit the bar and comes out? Because I was always a goal hanger, wasn't I? I was always looking for something like that. So I just threw myself forward, headed it in the goal. And then, believe it or not, the second goal, I don't believe how I run from the halfway line with their centre half, and I've beaten him into the box. I wasn't the fastest guy, and the keeper makes my first save from the shot and come out, and I just rolled in the net. We won 2-0. Brilliant.
And what was it like at the final whistle?
Oh, well, we didn't think we'd won the league. We went in the dressing room, and we didn't know that Burnley had got beat by Chelsea, who were getting relegated. Chelsea were getting relegated. Tommy, the Doc, what a character he was, Tommy Docherty. Yeah. He tapped me up and said, "Do you want to come and play for Chelsea?" And I went, no thanks. But other people knew what the Doc was like, wasn't he? Oh, God, what a character he was. I didn't want to go and play for him because we would have been rowing all the time. I think he was only a year or two older than me, actually, because he'd finished early, hadn't he, Tommy Docherty?
So how did you find out that you won the league then?
Oh, well, we were in the outside, in the dressing room, sorry. It filtered through that Burnley lost, and we were champions. And we come outside and was interviewed by the press, and then I was very fortunate. I was carried around the ground on a few people's shoulders, and fantastic! It was great. Really, really great occasion.
And wasn't there was champagne in the dressing room brought by Cliff Mitchellmore, wasn't there? Is that right?
Yes, that was that. Well, what he said, if it was something to do, we'd been to London for something or other. I can't remember what it was now. And he said if Ipswich win the league, I'll buy them 12 bottles of champagne. And of course, whoever had them standing by, I don't know, but we certainly had them. We certainly had the.
But Mr. John had him.
Mr. Wolstenholme.
Yeah, it was Kenneth Wolstenholme, wasn't it? But he couldn't make it.
Yeah,
so
that's
sent
him. Yeah.
Cliff Mitchellmore. Yeah.
And a word, Ray, about the. Russ was just touching on it there. What about Mr. Patrick and Mr. John? What are your memories of those two at that time?
Well, Mr. John was great. I mean, he offered me one of these pubs when I was back there the second time. I must have been playing bad. I was with Bobby Robson, and we were travelling back from Newcastle. I always had a drink with Mr. John because he's about the same age as me. And he said, "What are you doing at the end of the season?" I thought, "What's going on here?" So I said, "I don't know." He said, "Do you want one of my pubs?" He offered me one of his pubs, and we're traveling back from Newcastle. We got beaten up there, and I said, "No, actually, I want to go to South Africa. Roy Bailey's out there, and I sort of like to go out there and finish my career out there." So after Bobby's first game, I went to see Bob and said, "I've got a free transfer at the end of the season." And of course, everything went pear-shaped, and Mr. John gave me a testimonial, which I wasn't due really, and I ended up going to Charlton, which I didn't want to go anyway.
What about the Colchester connection then, Ray?
Yeah, that was a good one. That was. I'd gone to Kettering, and I'd been playing, and I played against John Charles, and what a player he was. And I was having a beer with him after, and he said, "What are you doing playing for Kettering?" He said, "You should still be in the league." And I believed him. So when I went home on the Monday, I phoned Dick Graham, and I thought, Colchester, I can move back to live in Ipswich and play for Colchester. He said, "Leave it with me." He said, "I'll try to sort something out," which he did. And he had to pay off a couple of clubs who I'd played for, and had to give Kettering a few quid and Charlton Athletic a few quid. And I had that fantastic season with Colchester. And I think when we beat Leeds, I think they just came for a day out. They were so lethargic, and before they knew where they were 3-0 down. Then they started to play.
Take us
and
back.
We never got a kick.
Yeah,
we never got a kick for the last 20 minutes. And our goalkeeper, Graham Smith, made a save that he's never ever bettered, and he ended up getting a transfer to West Brom on that. And that was a fantastic time.
I mean, it's one of the greatest, one of the greatest cup victories, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember watching
Colchester
it.
Leeds.
I remember watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. And a few friends of mine went to listen to Jack Charlton one of his evenings, and they shouted, "Hey Jack, what happened at Colchester?" And I won't repeat what Jack said. But Jack, brilliant guy.
And you mentioned your second spell at Ipswich under Bill McGarry. What was Bill McGarry like?
Oh, evil man, evil.
Hard taskmaster.
My word. I mean, I got on well with him, really. I mean, I remember him saying to me one half time when we got into second half, he said, "Come on, get the boys playing." And I thought, well, it's your job, not mine. He said, "Get them playing. They're not doing it. They're not putting it in." And we were playing Portsmouth anyway, so I remember that one. We had Colin Viljohn, was a brilliant player for the town. And I think he got a couple of goals and I got one, and we beat Pompey, and Bill McGarry bought me a pint of beer after. So he said, "Whatever you said to him, got him playing." I said, "Well, I didn't say much." But Bill McGarry was football and golf mad. He loved giving us Wednesday off, but it wasn't Wednesday off. It was going around the golf course on a Wednesday with him, so he could play 18 holes, and he had someone to beat. He was a real hard nut.
And he
got results, didn't he?
Well, I say that I think it's that team's forgotten a little bit. I think, isn't it, that people remember the Robson era and the Ramsey era, but the McGarry era in between. Without the McGarry era, there probably wouldn't have been a Robson era, would there? No,
not really. I mean, he's come to West Brom and brought me back. He's come in there and he said, "I've got so many players, Ray, that are no good. I've got to get rid of the end of the season." He said, "We are going to get relegated." And that's Bill McGarry's words to me. he said, we are going to get relegated. I'm getting the team ready for next season. He said, I'd like you to come. And I went back, scored a few goals. The team started to play well. And we finished about halfway up the table. And I got a nice letter, which I kept from Bill, thanking me for everything I'd done. And I hadn't done anything more than any of the other players. But I suppose if you've got a goal scorer, if you've got someone who can regularly score goals, you're going to get results. And as I say, Bill was a man's man, loved his game of golf, wanted the players to give everything they've got. But I like Bill, he was okay.
And we didn't mention your England caps, did we, either? From your first period. 2 England caps?
Yeah, got me 2 England caps. Well, we were playing well. I mean, at the time I was scoring goals, and probably at that time, if you're picking that centre forward who's going to score goals, it was me. So I was very fortunate, really, to play. I played 2 games, and everybody said to me, well, why didn't you go to the World Cup? I said, I don't know. I was a leading goal scorer in the league, and a fella called Alan Peacock, who was a good player, went instead of me, and he was playing for Middlesbrough, and I don't think he'd ever played for England, but he went in the World Cup, and I didn't. So I'm glad I didn't go, because we got beat anyway.
that was Chile, wasn't it? 62.
You should have had more caps.
Well, it's a bit crazy, isn't it? You've got a guy who's scored all the goals in the league, and you're taking someone who's not scored half as many. Well, I do believe his uncle was something to do with the FA, but
but you scored.
I didn't ever say anything about it.
But you scored 1 goal in your 2 games, didn't you? Which is a fairly decent record.
Yeah. I got told off for that first game. We played Northern Ireland, and Bobby Charlton scored, but I was the one going down the left wing, cutting in and squaring for Bobby Robson Bobby Charlton to score. So Alf's bringing me back after the game, and he said, what are you doing on the wing? I said, what do you mean? He said, why are you going down the wing, crossing the ball for Bobby Charlton? He said, he should be going down the wing, crossing the ball for you. And you couldn't argue with Alf. I went, okay. Well, I don't think you said another word all the way back from Wembley until he dropped me off at home. But yeah, and then the second game, I got a goal, got first one, and we won 3-1, and I never got another look in.
But you were the first town player to play for England as well.
Yeah, that was a great honour. Yeah, to do that. It was the team got me there, didn't they? I mean, you can't play this game on your own. You've got to have people that pass the ball to you, cross the ball to you, whatever it is. It's a team game, and I was very fortunate to be on the end of, and a lot of people said to me, why didn't Ted play? I said, I don't know. Because Ted and myself, we were lethal. I mean, you get some guy who can whack a ball in from 25 yards like Ted did, and fantastic.
But I'll tell you how lethal you were, because you were the first footballer to score hat-tricks in the Football League, the League Cup, the FA Cup, and the European Cup as well. That's some honour, it really is.
Well, I didn't know that. Did I really? Yeah. Oh, well. That was good. No, I won't be able to sleep tonight now.
Don't have a beer.
Get a beer inside you, yeah.
Couple of things that I remember, Ray, when I was growing up, just to show you how much you were loved. You know, when you go into someone's house, they normally have photographs on the mantelpiece of their family, their children, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, all that kind of stuff. When I went round my friend Richard's house, his parents, Eric and Elsie, no longer with us, sadly, above the mantelpiece was a huge picture of Ray Crawford. No family members, just Ray Crawford.
Oh, my word. That is something, isn't it?
Was it above the fire?
It was above the fire.
Okay, right, yeah.
It might have been to keep the kids away from the fire. I don't know, but and we've also had this in Ray from one of our Danish viewers. Kenneth
Yes.
Runga Anderson. Great news that Ray's on the show. Maybe you can use this little anecdote. Around 5 years ago, a bunch of Danish Ipswich supporters went to a restaurant for a meal. As we spoke Danish, we got some attention from two lovely ladies. We told them we were in the town for the next game, and so were they. They had been town supporters since the 1960s, and one of them asked me, "Who was your favourite player?" I said, "Eric Gates." I replied, explaining how much I admired his ability to score from any angle. Then I asked her back if she had a favourite player. She didn't hesitate, saying, "Oh yes, Ray Crawford. He had the best legs."
There you
Oh,
go.
brilliant.
Happy days. But you made some great friends here, didn't you? I remember when we did Life's a Pitch on the old radio show, you were with us in the studio once, and one of your old neighbours rang up and said you borrowed, I think it was some spanners or something from him, and he wanted them back.
Yeah, I used to love people. I used to like to go out and visit youth clubs, and I just like to not be liked, but I like to be with the crowd and go out and do my bit for society, because I'd come up from a rough time growing up, and I remember, those days, and when we didn't have anything at all, and I just enjoyed going and meeting people, and it's nice to be nice, they like you, and I just used to love it.
And Ray as well, I remember the show on the radio because we had a guest on there, Pat Gobbold. And Pat Gobbold's first question to you was, "How are your piles? Are your piles better, Ray?"
I've never had them since having the first time. And while you're on there, is Pat ill? I've been phoning her for a week and she won't pick the phone up on me. Is she not well?
She's not been very well, actually. She's back home again now.
Is she still in hospital?
She has been in hospital, but she's back home at the moment. I spoke to her yesterday, funnily enough.
Perhaps she's just not taking phone calls then.
Yeah, I should
when
try.
she looks at sees it's me, she don't want to talk to me.
I'm sure that's not true if she's answering me.
We'll pass on the message, Ray. We'll pass on the message for you. We're going to just take a short break from you, Ray, and come back in a moment or two because we've got a few other bits and pieces
no problem.
to do. So for now, everybody, Ray Crawford. What an absolute legend. It's time now for this week's Keep It Up Challenge, sponsored by Ginger Pickle. Now, clearly Ray is on the South Coast, so he can't do the Keep It Up Challenge this week. But I'm just kind of wondering, actually. We've got a great friend of the show here, and that's Man v Fat Mark, who we hear from every week on the programme. And I just wondered, Man v Fat Mark, whether you fancied giving it a go this week. Push him forward, everybody. Come on.
Practice.
Come on.
I played it late in Orient yesterday, and I'm absolutely stiff as a board.
Oh, you're stiff as a board. Oh, okay, go on.
Yeah.
Up you go.
You're representing Ray Crawford. No pressure.
You're representing Ray. You know how it goes, Man v Fat Mark. You've got 60 seconds. Phil's got the whistle. Terry's got the timer. Phil got 6. Terry got 3.
Thank you very much.
So there's not a great. No, you're gonna have to go for it straight away. Okay, because I'm sorry, you had no warning for this, but let's just do it. Are you ready on the whistle? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Fantastic. That's beaten Terry Butcher. Yeah. Sorry, Butch. Well done, Man v Fat Mark. Give him a big round of applause, everybody. Well done, buddy. Sorry to spring that on you, but I knew you'd better handle that. Sorry, Ray, he says.
It's only 99 behind the leader.
If he wasn't stiff from the game last night, he probably got 6.
He might have beaten Phil. He might have beaten Phil. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Please subscribe. And don't forget, over 200,000 views have we had already, which is amazing. So thank you.
And obviously give us lots of likes and things on the audio podcast as well.
Yes,
on
please.
Apple
Yes.
wherever.
And to get your tickets for our end-of-season dinner, lifesapitch.tv. You can get shirts and mugs and everything on there as well. Time for the town news in brief now. Here's Phil from twtd.co.uk. This is brought to you in association with John Keeble Cars of Bramford.
Well, we've already alluded to the big town news, haven't we, of the day, that Wes Burns and George Hurst are set to return to the squad for Saturday's vital away game at Hull City. Hurst has been out since undergoing hamstring surgery on injury picked up during the Boxing Day game against his former club Leicester City. Burns has been out since last month's 6-0 hammering of Sheffield Wednesday with a more minor hamstring problem. They've both trained this week with the group, so as it stands, if they come through tomorrow, there's a chance both will travel to Hull. So that's a positive for us, Kieran McKenna said at his press conference today. A big boost, 2 important players for us, and players who have had a big part to play and with their own unique qualities that are different to everyone else in the group. Hopefully they can play a good part in the next week. Quizzed on one of the new injury issues during the fortnight's break since the 1-1 draw with Middlesbrough, McKenna said, "We have 1 or 2, which is normal when you have a couple of weeks of training and coming off a big block of matches that we have. Of course, I'm not going to reveal anything. That would be too sensitive in terms of a game plan or preparation. I'm happy with the squad that I have. We have good availability. We have some players back training with us, which is a big boost, and we have good options for each position. So I think we're in a healthy position." So that's very positive news, as we said earlier. Former Town midfielder and friend of the podcast, Kieran Dyer, gifted his Vanarama National League Winners' Medal to a presenter from a Chesterfield radio station following the Spyrights trophy lift last Saturday. Dyer is a member of ex-Blues boss Paul Cook's staff with the Derbyshire side, who romped to the National League title last month and ultimately finished 12 points ahead of second-place Barnet. Chesterfield were handed the trophy after last Saturday's 3-2 final day victory over Maidenhead, and afterwards Dyer kept a promise which he had previously made to Ellie Yates from 1866 Sport, who tweeted, "When we interviewed Kieran Dyer on 1866 Sport, he said I could have his winner's medal. I was never going to remind him, but he came straight up to me after the trophy lift to hand it to me. His first medal in football, and he gave it to me. Honoured is an understatement." That's a very nice thing to do.
Yeah, good. Very good.
And no one at Ipswich has handed a medal to any radio
I never got one handed to me, but mind you, when I was on the radio, we never won anything, so I wouldn't worry about it.
And Ipswich Town women's winger Sophie Peskett is to be named FA Women's National League Southern Premier Division Player of the Year. The 21-year-old has already won Town's Women's Player of the Year this season, will be presented with the gong at this year's FAWNL Awards, which are being held at Wembley Stadium on Saturday, 12th of May, prior to the Women's FA Cup final between Manchester United and Tottenham. The award is determined by the total number of times a player is named the opposition player of the match, and Peskett, Town's first ever women's professional, now can't be caught by any other player. She scored 12 goals and picked up 20 assists in 27 games this season. Striker Natasha Thomas and goalkeeper Nina Miolo are also in line to receive awards. Thomas is the division's top scorer by 3 goals with 1 game to play, while Miolo is set to be named Division 1 South East Player of the Year from her loan spell with Cambridge City.
I think that deserves another round of applause, don't you? Well done. Thank you, Phil. Let's take a look and see what's happened to Ipswich Town on this day in the past, and that is brought to you in association with our friends at Fred Olsen Logistics.
All taken from Dan Botton's book, Ipswich Town on this day. And as the day is the 25th of April, we are going back to 1953 to start with. A 2-0 defeat at Swindon Town in Division 3, in brackets South, close brackets, would be the last occasion the Blues would draw a blank for 33 consecutive games. That's not bad. Also, on Saturday the 25th of April, this time 1992, a momentous day saw Town book a place in the inaugural Premier League. A 1-1 draw at Oxford United cemented promotion from Division 2. Gavin Johnson levelling an earlier strike from future Town boss Jim Magilton. It's not bad. Now I'm just going to skip ahead a couple of days, if you don't mind, just quickly on to Saturday the 28th of April. So only 3 days skipping forward. But it's 1962. Ray, you might get a mention here. A momentous date in Ipswich Town history, as a 2-0 Portman Road victory over Aston Villa saw the Blues crowned champions of the Football League at the first attempt. Burnley's goalless draw with Chelsea, combined with Ray Crawford's brace, sent 28,932 fans home delirious. There you go.
Fantastic.
And that was on this day.
Brilliant. Well done.
That's brilliant. Yes.
And Ray, what we've got here, one of our capacity crowd has lent us a book here, and it's the Ipswich Top Team 61-62. Okay, that's a brochure that was brought out in honour of the team winning the league. And there's a lovely, some of the adverts in here for Croydon's Jewellers, advertising in here. Tolly Cobbold as well. The Ipswich Steam Laundry Limited Company. Launderers to the champion team, it says here. There's a nice piece by John Cobbold. And then we've got tribute to Sir Alf Ramsey. And then also we've got the team here. So let me just, these names will be very familiar to you. There's a nice piece about Andy Nelson, Roy Bailey, Larry Carberry, John Compton, Bill Baxter. Who else have we got here as I flick through? John Ellsworthy, Roy Stevenson. And we flick through and there's some action shots. And then there's Doug Moran. And there's Ray Crawford. There's Ted Phillips, Jimmy Ledbetter, Ken Malcolm, Wilf Hall, getting a mention. Alid Owen, Reg Pickett, Dermot Curtis, trainer Jimmy Forsyth, and the best thing is, right, there he is pictured with a bucket of cold water and a towel.
That's it. What more do you need?
Look, it is the cold water bucket.
I think that's to wash the balls.
Wash the balls, is
Wash
it?
the balls, yeah.
Okay.
That's the kind of attention you don't get these
Those are
days.
the days.
Let's not go any further
Assistant
with that.
trainer Charlie Cowie as well. And it's a lovely booklet, which has just been loaned to us tonight. So thank you very much for loaning us that. But those names must bring some lovely memories back for you, Ray.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely. I'd say with Charlie Cowie, when I was first coming up there to Ipswich, I used to come up on a Wednesday and stop at Charlie Cowie's bed and breakfast I used to have with his family and that. Lovely man.
So not only was it a bucket of cold water and a towel, but you didn't have any nutritionists in those days then either.
Clean balls.
Brilliant.
Happy days. We've got one thing to do before we go, and that's to bring out this week's Man v Fat results. A couple of the team are here. Man v Fat Mark, we've already seen tonight. Well done. Sorry for springing that on you, but you did very well. This week's results. Seattle Quarter Pounders, 13. LA Galaxy Bar, 7. Far From Athletic, 9. To Lose a Few Pounds, 11. Pork Vale, 8. Man Titty, 3. Can you please give a shout out to town fan Paul Goodchild, who's hanging up his gloves this season after being a fantastic goalkeeper for the last 6 years. Paul played in goal for the legendary Intia Nanny before moving to Pork Vale, and he retires with our best wishes. So well done, fantastic. And keep up the good work, Mark, and the rest of the Man v Fat team. Ray, we're out of time. Look, we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. We'll get you back when we're in the Premier League next year. How's that?
Brilliant. I can't wait.
Excellent.
Cheers, Mark.
We'll fly you down here.
Oh.
Thanks, Ray.
Well, maybe not.
Well, Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Ray.
All the best.
Take care,
you.
everybody.
Thank
Ray
you.
Crawford! Oh, just fantastic. Thank you, Ray, so much.
All the best.
All the best.
All the best.
So lovely to see you. That's it for this week. Thank you very much. Don't forget Town in Action, 8 o'clock on Saturday night. We'll be back next week on the show. Massive thank you to our main sponsors, DPS Tech, also supported by All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound 4 Pro Audio, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford, the Dove in St Helens Street, Ipswich, and Ashford Wright as well. And the sofa is sponsored by DPS Tech. Thank you, boys, very much. Well done. Thank you, Capacity Crowd. Don't forget, go onto our website, book your tickets for our end-of-season dinner. You can get your merch on there as well. livesapitch.tv for more details. For now, though, Blue Army!
Army!